The Arctic is widely considered to be one of the last great frontiers for human development, particularly in the realm of mineral extraction, oil and natural gas, as well as being a potential shortcut between Asian and European markets for shippers. But there are problems here, and none of this is about to happen. The far north is the far north because it's cold. The Arctic zone extends well past the northern shore of Eurasia and North America, and every winter sea ice closes all of the passages. Until such time as these areas are open not just in the summer, but year-round. And year-round in the coldest winter, there is no economic rationale behind putting aids of navigation. Modern-day ships don't simply travel on prearranged routes. They travel on routes that are constantly monitored. That monitoring system is expensive. And when you're talking about getting competitive advantages via shipments that are half a world away, you need every little advantage you can get. And at this point, should a ship go into an area that is not adequately charted and supported, if it does run into any problems, the loss of that ship and the insurance costs alone just simply make this non-viable. So if global warming is true, and if you buy into the most severe interpretation of the data that's out there, you're still looking at a minimum of 20 to 25 years before the northern route could be open. Oil and natural gas could be a different issue. Most estimates put that at a Saudi Arabia or two that could potentially be up there simply because of the amount of territory involved. But again, there's the problem with the ice. Moving sea ice is the most difficult condition to drill in. In the few places in the world where it is done, mostly in the Caspian Sea, first an artificial island is built, and then the drills work from that island drilling down into the seabed. But the northern Caspian, the water is only about 3 meters deep. At the deepest part of the northern Caspian, maybe 10 meters. You're dealing with water depths in excess of 300 meters in most parts of the Arctic, so building an artificial island simply is not an option. So you've got to wait again until the ice not just recedes, but doesn't come back. What you have to wait for is for a completely submersible technology that can operate under the ice, or at least under the ice whenever the need arises. This technology does exist. It's very expensive, however, and it was only now being field tested in a few areas in Norway. As deep water technology and submersible technology merge, you're looking at some very favorable options, but then you still have one more problem. You have to bring this energy to market. And the far north is nearly 2,000 miles away from the nearest population center anywhere, and that's assuming you're going to Moscow, which already has an excess of crude and natural gas production. It's going to be a long time before the technology develops that Arctic oil can be produced with any sort of competitive advantage, unless the ice melts first. Under current international law with the law of the sea, things are in flux right now. You may remember that there were all kinds of debates about 2 years ago about who owned what in the Arctic, and everyone was placing claims. First, you have the Russians, whose claims in the Arctic Ocean go past the North Pole, actually. And then you have a coalition of Denmark, Canada, the United States, and Norway, all 4 of them NATO countries. And so they tend to coordinate their efforts a little bit more. The Law of the Sea Secretariat now has to take those claims, sort through them, consult scientists, and build an actual database of who owns what where. That will take at least a decade. And at the end of that process, any state that doesn't like what the Law of the Sea came back with will challenge it, and there will be litigation. So ironically, 20, 25, 30 years from now, when the technology is finally ready, when the Arctic is finally melted enough, we may actually have the legal basis to tap the Arctic, but not until then.